The Supreme Deity and the Demon King were consistently viewed as equals, since if one of them could do something, the other could do the same thing, such as how the Supreme Deity created her own dimension and her own race. And then the Demon King followed up and did the same thing, but he made his race completely the opposite of the Supreme Deity's race. You also have both of them cursing the other one's child, such as Meliodas being cursed by the Supreme Deity and Elizabeth being cursed by the Demon King, and how you need power equal to one of them or greater to destroy the curses, and how the 10 Commandments were done by the Demon King. So the Supreme Deity did the same thing, but she made 4 graces for 4 goddesses to equal the 10 Commandments. It was kinda narratively consistent for this to be the case, but some new information and feats put this into question. So who would actually win if they fight to the death? I'm gonna use their prime versions just so that they are the same size, and Prime Demon King Zeldris did state to be as strong as his primordial version, and the Supreme Deity will also be at 100% of her power. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. I'll start with their scaling. Who is stronger in terms of magic attacks? Well, that will be the Supreme Deity by orders of magnitude. That's because the Prime Demon King, in his fight with the Sins, he had a sword on the level of Meliodas' Sacred Treasure, since it could clash with Lost Vein without either sword taking damage. So the Demon King created a Sacred Treasure tier sword, then he amps that sword with his Darkness, so he gets 10 times stronger, since Darkness is listed as a Destroyer type magic. And yet Bon, with his Sacred Treasure in hand, is able to kick the same Demon King and was still sent flying by Bon's kick and was taking damage from Bon, King, and Near Noon Escanor, and they were able to withstand the Demon King's magic attacks with minor damage. But when the Sins fight the Supreme Deity, they had to nerf her magic attacks with Lightning Rod, which is Diane's Sacred Treasure ability. And then with the second attack of the Supreme Deity, which no-diffed most of the Sins, but Bon was able to absorb that attack, and then he used this magic amped Sacred Treasure on the Supreme Deity, which did no damage. And in fact, the Supreme Deity says,
"No matter how you use it, it's still my own light magic. At best, it will only scratch me."
And then on her third attack, she was going to kill them with a charged up attack. If Meliodas didn't save them, they would have died, since her casual attacks that was nerfed is able to damage them. So, doing the maths, a Sacred Treasure tier weapon is at least a 10 times multiplier as a low ball, since base Diane can go from fighting Season 1 base Meliodas to one-shotting Hulbrum with her Sacred Treasure, and Hulbrum one-shotted Berserk Meliodas, which a Demon Mark Meliodas, who is weaker than his Berserk self, he one-shot Bon, who absorbed all of Meliodas' base power. So saying a Sacred Treasure is only a 10 times amp is a low ball. Anyway, so slap that Sacred Treasure tier weapon with Destroyer type magic and get 100 times stronger, and a no magic amped Sacred Treasure Bon scales to this Demon King, and then Bon amps his sacred treasure with the supreme deity's magic, making Bon 1,000 times stronger than a weaponless prime Demon King who fought the one Escanor. But with his weapon, then Bon would be 100 times stronger. And with the magic amped weapon, then magic amped sacred treasure Bon is 10 times stronger than the prime Demon King. And mind you, this wasn't able to damage the supreme deity, nor was Meliodas' full counter on the supreme deity's charged up attack was able to damage her, with a full counter sending the attack back by 11 times, since it's a one-shot difference, which I explained many times in other videos that a one-shot is at least 11 times. I know I did make the sacred treasure only 10 times, but that's just to prove a point. I'll make a pinned comment that explains the one-shot meta for those that are interested. Anyway, with all that being said, this supreme deity in the movie is also not at full power, since her graces hold a portion of her power, which I can say that the 4 graces are equal to the 10 commandments, which is half of the prime Demon King's power, since if you didn't remember, the prime Demon King gave half of his power to the original demon, then took that power and split it into 10 pieces after the original demon tried to rebel against the Demon King. And that was before Meliodas and Zeldris were born, and we do know there have been other generations of the 10 commandments before Meliodas and Zeldris. And just to hammer this home, but the supreme deity gave Dahlia, the second fairy king, enough power to one-shot a Endurer of Retribution, which is stronger than the 10 commandments stated by Merlin herself. And that was a Dahlia in base form, so she gave him power greater than 11 times that of a stronger than half power prime Demon King level being, which is a tongue twister. So in terms of magic power, the Demon King won't even be able to damage the very clothes of the supreme deity. Now let's talk about physical power, which obviously goes to the Demon King, since he is a swordsman and has greater feats than the supreme deity, who has no physical attack feats. But maybe one of her abilities will help with that, which you will soon figure out. Will help with that. But yeah, I can't say how many times stronger the Demon King is in terms of physical strength, but in terms of base to base, the Demon King is physically stronger. So now let's talk about speed, which speed goes to the supreme deity, since she fought stronger and faster versions of the 7 deadly sins, and you can use the multipliers I gave you in the magic power part of this video, since we know that a weapon amp makes you stronger and faster. In fact, if you get stronger, you always get faster. We see this to be the case with Meliodas getting faster when he uses more of his demon powers. We even see him get faster after getting his pure power back in the Druid arc, and was able to body Galen, who was able to body the Berserk Meliodas with his sacred treasure. And how when Percival amped his sword with magic, he got faster and stronger. There are a lot of evidence of this being the case, so the Supreme Deity, while not at full power, she is 1,000 times faster than the base Prime Demon King, but is 100 times faster than the Prime Demon King with a sword, and 10 times faster than a Prime Demon King with a magic amped sword. And now for durability, which your durability should scale to your AP or higher, obviously. If not, then you would take damage from your own attacks. And it should be a no-brainer that the Supreme Deity has higher durability than the Demon King, since her charged up attack did no damage to her, but was going to one-shot the 7 deadly sins. That means her durability is 11 times greater than her magic attacks, which makes sense as to why she can face tank her own full countered attack. And lastly, abilities and hacks. So for the Demon King, he has all of his commandments abilities since he made them, and why wouldn't he have them? And no, just because they didn't activate against the sins doesn't mean he doesn't have them. All it could mean is that the sins are immune to the commandments or have some type of resistance to them, since we see Arthur be resistant or immune to Zeldris' commandments. We know Merlin is immune to them. We also know Meliodas is immune to them, as we see Meliodas turn his back on Zeldris, yet it didn't work. And he showed intolerance to pain, yet Droll's commandment didn't work. And he had lost faith in his abilities to beat all of the commandments if he used the same strategy as he did against Stroll and Gloxinia. And he was in disbelief in Estarossa stopping his revenge counter with one hand, yet his eyes were not on fire. So yeah, it's possible the sins just have resistance to the commandments for some reason, but here's a list of what the commandments do and affect, so pause and read it. Also, note that he could forcibly activate the commandments, like how for commandment Mayal did. The Demon King has his innate magic, the Ruler, which can reverse the effects of magic attacks and weakening maneuvers, and he has his sub-innate ability, which can make him immune to magic, which Zeldris called it the Demon Lord's power. He has Darkness Regen, which can regenerate the mind, body, and soul, which we see weaker demons do, like Derriere, Chandler, Cusack, Zeldris, and weaker forms of Meliodas. And by the way, Arc erases the soul and body, so the Demon King has a godly regen, and that's all the Demon King has to offer, as the rest of his abilities are useless in this fight against the Supreme Deity. As for the Supreme Deity, she has Arc, which not only can it erase your body and soul, but it can also erase magic. We also know that Arc is physical, not magical, since it can work on Zeldris, who is immune to magic attacks, which we see Zeldris take damage from Leader Shoal's Arc attack, and we see Mayel damage Zeldris with light constructs. She also has her 4 graces, which Flash just gives you better light manipulation, and you can move at light speed or travel at light speed. Tornado gives you the ability to manipulate wind, air, and can create tornadoes. Sun gives you the ability to create mini suns, big suns, and potentially make a sun the size of our sun. But it also makes you stronger the closer it gets to high noon, and after 1 minute passes high noon, you get weaker till you in your base. And the best one, which is the ocean, you can create a actual physical ocean and manipulate water and create water. You can even turn your body into water. She also has Domain of God, which she can create a dimension using two of her graces, which is Tornado and Ocean. And by saying the names of those two graces, she can create a dimension of tornadoes and an ocean, which can atomize you. She would be able to do the same thing if she combines the four graces and say their names to create a dimension with a sun, which, logically speaking, shouldn't really matter. She should be able to pop out suns regardless of her abilities, same as the Demon King, but whatever. The dimension would contain a sun, a ocean, and tornadoes, and also light, obviously. And their attack, the combination of those attacks, could be greater than just atomizing. It could just be existency ratio. We don't really know, but it is a lot greater than just the two races. And you have to be as strong or stronger than the person to destroy that dimension, as shown with Estarossa needing to be as strong as one of the archangels that created the domain of God in order to destroy said dimension. She also has her innate magic, which the name is unknown, but it allows her to be immune to physical attacks. And of course, she has goddess level regen, as we see Elizabeth regenerate from death when she was hit by dark snow, which is death manipulation. We also know Nanashi go from near death to perfectly fine when getting hit by Lancelot's shining road. And that is all the Supreme Deity will have in this fight. I know she has a lot more, but it's negligible. It's not really necessary. Now that all the stats and abilities have been addressed, who wins? The answer should be obvious, but the Supreme Deity would logically dog walk the Demon King with no difficulty. She is stronger, faster, more durable, and she negs his physical attacks, whereas the Supreme Deity has counters to the Demon King's abilities, such as the Ruler is useless since the Supreme Deity has healing abilities, which will reverse it into the Demon King taking damage. She also has arc attacks, which is a counter to Demon's darkness, and also a counter to the Ruler and the Demon Lord's power, and it will be erasing his magic. She can also just trap him in her own more powerful domain of God, where he will continuously get atomized or even erased, since there are two more graces fused in the domain of God. And from our knowledge, the domain of God isn't magical, it's quite physical. So it would just bypass the Demon King's immunities to magic. And also, the Supreme Deity will just physically get stronger than the Demon King over time, since we see Escanor's body. We see Escanor like dog walk the Demon King, which Escanor is a failed host who has a power level of like 15 without the grace activated. He's literally below average human level. So slap the grace on top of the Supreme Deity, she's eventually going to be physically stronger than the Demon King. So I don't see how the Demon King wins, and she will be immune to the commandments since she does have the graces and she can cast Divine Protection, which I forgot to bring up in the abilities portion. So yeah, I'm bringing it up now. And what else could the Supreme Deity do against the Demon King? Well, let's think about it. Let's just say like the fight starts up. She obviously knows what the Darnie's ability is because, you know, they've been with each other or known each other for like how many decades? Well, not even decades, probably thousands and thousands of years. They were created pretty much at the same time. So they should know each other's abilities by now. So she would like slap him with like a healing ability. The Demon King turns off his ruler so that the attack heals him, and then she like blitzes him and like one shots him with like a magic attack that is offensive. Like, I don't know, she uses God Thunder, and that one taps the Demon King, and he starts like foaming out of his mouth because he's just not he's not 11 times or 1,000 times or 10 times or 100 times or even 2 times stronger than his attack potency. Like, his durability is pretty much relative to his AP, and that's unfortunate because the Supreme Deity is far stronger than the Demon King's AP, and her durability on itself is a lot higher than the Demon King. So the Demon King could use all the magic abilities he has, and it just won't even scratch the Supreme Deity. She will just heal from that shit. And then the Demon King like gets slapped with Arc, which we've seen like a stronger 50% Demon King. It's a 10 commandments infused in Zul'jus, which is more than just 50% of the Prime Demon King's power. And Zul'jus is OP as well. He's comparable, if not stronger, than the original demon, who is worth 90 commandments. So he is kind of strong, and we see Elizabeth like body bag him with an arc attack. So the Supreme Deity dog walks, clears. It shouldn't even be equals. These are one of the fights where the narrative tries to push that they're equals, but like when you actually look at like the scaling and like go into like context and stuff, they're not that equal. There's clearly one of them is stronger. Same as how the demon race is far stronger than the goddess race. They shouldn't be equal. So yeah, it's just one of those in Seven Deadly Sins. But anywho, that's all for this video. If you liked my content, I have opened a Patreon by now. Fingers crossed I did. So go there if you want. This will be exclusive content that I won't be posting on YouTube, such as me reacting to stuff, me reviewing things, me this is gonna be a lot of stuff. I don't really know what I'm going to do after that. I may add more things to the perks. So yeah, go there, see what go on. If you like it, you like the vibe, then obviously go to the Patreon. If not, say less. You know, you do you. But until next time, peace.
無料空所